You and I can agree on one thing. Chess is a really difficult game. And sometimes there is no worse feeling than playing a game that you thought was absolutely fantastic, reviewing it with the computer, and it telling you flat out that it thinks that you're an idiot. It might not be the only person on earth with that opinion, but man, does it sting. And in today's video, I would like to share with you the continuation of the report from yesterday's video on my most brilliant moves. Today, I'm going to be showing you the worst blunders that I was able to find in my history of playing on chess.com. And this is a very difficult video to record because it's a constant reminder that no matter how many decades I put into this game, I still suck, and I'm still ready to be humbled. Timestamps are on the video player. We're all in this together. And some of you are brave enough to submit your blunders and errors to me for Guess the ELO, for some of my other content. But here we go. The first game that I have for you is a battle against an FM from Bulgaria. This was a advanced Caro-Kann, and most of these are blitz, maybe bullet games, but that doesn't really excuse anything. We have a relatively normal opening. This is the Tal variation of the Caro-Kann. You are trying to chase down this bishop. And this is a gambit line where black is able to take on b2 and seemingly win this rook. And I allow it. This is actually part of one of my lines in my e4 course. This is a bit too dangerous for black, and I catch my opponent with their hand in the cookie jar by playing the move e6. This is the entire point. If the opponent takes on a1, you play queen b3, and already the queen is just getting trapped. So I took on f7 here. The correct move is actually knight e2. I actually misplayed this slightly, but the knight defends the pawn on d4, and the queen now has no escape. This is, you know, sort of the idea, right? And my purpose is that I'm going to win this queen back over time, and I decide in this game that I'm going to not worry about my queen getting attacked, because I'm just going to go for an attack of my own. So if the queen tries to, like, get out with queen b2, I have queen e6, I'm gonna take, and I'm gonna attack the king. So the position looks really wonderful. I mean, it looks like I'm doing some serious damage to the black position, even though I'm down a rook. The reason for that is the queen, obviously, in the corner isn't scaring anybody. And things were going swimmingly well. I was just bringing all of my pieces forward as my opponent just tried to take all my pawns and tried to pretend like their entire house was not about to collapse. Now, it's time to cash in, right? So here, white wins just by taking the knight. So neither of these pieces can take back because of the pins. And if this I take, and neither of these pieces can take back, so we hunt the king out, we can win back some material, and the king is stripped. King has to run around naked in the field getting chased by angry soldiers on horseback. I mean, it's you know, that's the start of some adult entertainment, but also it's the continuation of my attack. But I don't take the knight. I give a check and I allow the king to actually get away over to g6, and believe it or not, because I let the king sneak away, I am now losing. But that is not the beginning of my problems. The beginning of my it is the beginning of my problems. The continuation of my problems is yet to come. Rook to e5. I am now completely lost. If my opponent just consolidates by even taking my pawns and pushing, or bringing the queen over here, if they trade queens with me, I will never win this game. So I know I can't trade queens, right? King h7, rook e1, and now my opponent's like, why am I protecting anything? a3. I have a pass pawn. I'm gonna go make a queen. Well, I now have to desperately retreat my pieces, while the black king just somehow continues to hide amongst my horses and isn't in any danger anymore. Rest assured, we are making many mutual mistakes back and forth. But perhaps the biggest disaster of this game occurs when I actually do successfully coordinate my pieces. My opponent blunders, and I am on the verge of delivering a checkmate. I give a check, I sacrifice my knight because I think there is a forced mate with rook to e6. I thought I was so smart here, sacrificing my knight, rook into e6, and my opponent sacrifices the queen. Like, they just take. And at this point, when they took on e6, for an inexplicable reason, I did not recapture. I don't know why I didn't take. I would love to sit here and tell you I do know, but I thought I calculated out a forced checkmate with queen d3. I thought that the queen is hit, this mate is coming, and the queen has to somehow go somewhere. Again, I can't explain my logic. I did not take the queen. Queen d3. And then I was like, okay, good luck escaping checkmate. And my opponent was just kind of like, all right, By the way, if you notice, that is a free queen. I didn't take the queen, and then I mean, I didn't take the queen again? And then once I finally took the queen, I guess I had too low time, and I hung my queen, and that was the end of the game. I think the game report of this game showed that I made like 12 blunders. This might have been one of my worst games ever. Admittedly, I probably didn't take the queen toward the very end due to time constraints. That doesn't excuse the fact that I went from like a +9 position to allowing my opponent to get back into the game with a winning position. We traded like blunders here every move. I mean, it was just simply unbelievable. Though, you know, we're gonna have a good YouTube video. All right, some of these are going to be a little bit more long-winded, some of them are not. So this is a game against an Argentinian fellow, 2347, who I am stereotyping as Argentinian steak because they have fantastic steakhouses. This game was really interesting. It was this variation of a French defense I like to play where I damage my structure, but I'm just castle long, and then I put my rook on the open G file. I like this quite a bit, and as you can see, it's exactly what I'm doing. I go to long castle, and when my opponent short castles, which they do a few moves later, we have a very back and forth battle, right? I have this coming there, this is coming here, I'm coming this way. So it's a very complex game. So I'm developing an attack slowly with my knight, my rook enters on G4, and finally, when it comes time to kind of crash through, that pawn defense of white is completely terrible. I actually can just take it. So anytime you have two rooks, knight like this lined up, always look for sacrifices. And I do, and rook takes g2 is a massive threat. Like, my rooks are no joke. If the opponent has to retreat with the knight to defend everything, at some point I have bishop takes d5. So I've won back most of my material and I'm good. Believe it or not, it was actually better to play ed5 and then bring in my queen to open the door for my queen. Bishop d5 allows my opponent to actually do this and trade queens with me. So again, if I play rook takes g2, it looks like I'm winning. Boom, boom, I win the queen. But actually, uh-oh, and I'm losing a queen too in all of these complications. So this doesn't work out at all. My initiative has been somewhat thwarted because an attack on a king is only as powerful as your pieces. And I don't have a queen anymore, so since I don't have my most powerful attacking piece, what do? Well, I have to begin the next phase of the game, obviously, right? Which is, I have to hunt down the pawns, and I have to go for the endgame. And that's actually, while my opponent is trying to kind of create some counterplay, that is what I begin doing. I check, and before I win the pawn, I give a couple of checks to the enemy king. The enemy king here should obviously be covered up. It runs this way. I give a check. The game continues, except this is blunder number 2, because in the middle of this game, I miss mate. This is mate. It's very rare you get a ladder mate on the 2nd and 3rd rank because the first rank is completely blocked by your own piece. You're like, yo, get out of here. You're trying to push them overboard. Rook f2 is mate in 1, you idiot. It's mate in 1. I mean, it's right there. Just this. Why did I do an equidistant move the other way? And I continue to hunt the king, and this game goes on for 35 more moves, and I blunder from a winning endgame into a drawn endgame. This is a draw because despite my very powerful pawns, they are blockaded. There is no way for me to get a knight away from there because the knight zigzags around, but it's blitz. So the game goes on, and my opponent also blunders and allows me to infiltrate, and it's probably still a draw, but we win the game here on time. I mean, it was mate. It was just mate in 1. The amount of mates in 1s I missed when I was looking through these was, I just wanted to throw up. I mean, how are you supposed to take my advice? Okay, next game I would like to show you. Oh, this game, this'll be swift but painful. So, story of your first date. So, d4, d5, and I go for an Albin counter gambit. So this is actually kind of different Albin counter gambit. By the way, 2780. One of my higher ratings in Blitz that I've had in my life, because these are games from different periods of time. Yeah, I mean, I play an Albin, and I get a normal position, right? This is an Albin counter gambit. It's my black repertoire course, and this is the point. The point is that you go on opposite sides. Black tries to go h5, h4, bishop h3, deliver mate. White tries to not get mated and deliver mate themselves on the other side of the board. So I play h5. My opponent chooses not to get mated. I rotate my knight to the middle, and I'm looking to win back the pawn in the center. Opponent plays bishop g5. This is not the best way to play, and I immediately win my pawn back. I have no more problems. Black is just better, because the entire point of the Albin is that you're down a pawn for activity. If white doesn't play actively and gives you the pawn back, well, what sense does that make, right? I mean, so bishop g5 isn't correct. White should really be playing moves like queen a4, queen b3, b4, b5, etc. Because my opponent played slow, I was like, all right, well, fantastic. I mean, he's playing it super slowly, so I should play f6 and g5. That's exactly what I do. I play f6, opponent goes queen a5. I have to defend, obviously, my pawn over here, so I play king b8, knight to c5, and I come back with my bishop, and everything is great. I'm so happy. The position is so solid. Queen b5, I play c6. You're not going to get to me. No, knight a6, I just slide over. I can't take because I'm pinned, but no problem. So I've completely repelled my opponent, and this move, queen a5, g5 is -5. That's it. I mean, material is equal, but it's -5. That means one thing in opposite side castling positions. The computer has hit a complete wall on this side, because none of these pieces are fast enough. For example, if the opponent plays b4, I can even take on c4, but I can just go here. If the opponent plays b5, I take the knight. The position is not set up for white to attack. The move g5 ends the game. If you take, I can take back. I can probably also play h4. My attack works because my pawns lead the way, they chop down the trees, they clear the field, and I win. My opponent plays queen b4. Queen b4 is a good move. It's a very decent move. It sets up an attack on my queen, which I'm a clever guy. I mean, knight a6 check and winning my queen. I saw that. You're not going to fool me with that. I have an option. I can move my queen out of the way, or I can move my king out of the way. I choose to move my king. It probably would have been better to go here because I want my queen here anyway, but I digress. Now, the opponent comes back because they would like to trade queens with me or trade knights, right? Because that way they can get rid of my attack in some capacity. If you're trying to win this game in the long run, you can take the queen, take, and then win in the long run. If you're trying to win now, you slide over. You don't want to trade queens. I chose neither. I chose to continue my attack because obviously I want to chop down the pawns in front of the king. And I hung my queen in one move, and I resigned like a complete moron. Welcome to blunder number 3. How did I see that queen b4 set up a discovered attack, but I forgot it on the very next move and hung my queen? I mean, idiot, just complete, what? When I saw this, I was 2780. Who did I pay to lose to me? Oh my God. Okay, game number 4 before I have an aneurysm. This was also a very interesting game. So this game, where I don't even want to show you the opening because the opening was a bit of a disaster. A lot of h4, h5 stuff. But yeah, I mean, don't worry, there's kids watching. I mean, that's not a good influence. We're gonna pick the game up around like move 20, which is right here. Knight d4 is not a blunder, by the way. The queen is hanging. Yeah, we're picking the game up right here when white is doing things to black that would require parental warning prior. Knight e6 is also unnecessary. I mean, this is also good. I jump my knight into their position. I sacrifice it, and I just basically have to not let the king castle, right? So I play f4, anticipating this. Rook g3. I'm ready to rip everything open. Life is going very well. I mean, I'm playing f5, rook f8, e7. Like, look at this. The rook goes all the way back. I sacrifice my rook. I play queen d5. I am threatening, folks. I'm threatening taking. I'm also threatening queen f7 here and double check and mate. I'm going to have 2 queens on the board. The game is over. The game is absolutely over. Opponent plays king d7. At this point, I rotate my rook. My rook is coming to join the party. It's plus 11. It's plus 11 in this game. Queen a6. I give a check. King back to c8. It's plus 30. It's plus 30 now, okay? I play rook back to b6. This is fancy. I mean, I can promote, whatever. Rook b6, and we have the following position. Now, it's mate in 10. I don't have to see mate in 11. I don't have to see mate in 11, but I probably should see how to finish the game, right? So, how do you finish this game? You come back to where, you just were, check, and you queen, and that's it. I mean, take here, bishop comes into d5, and if this bishop comes in, the game's over. The game's absolutely over, right? I play this first. The move bishop e6, it looks very natural. I mean, okay, king comes up, not a problem, right? I mean, you take on a5, the game goes on. You keep hunting the king. We go from mate in 11 moves by force to equal. It is equal because I have no more checks. It's equal. It is an equal position. Can you, what? Now, how do you say, well, what about queen a4? To try to keep queening queen c6. So I'm like, what the hell? How did this happen? Okay, no problem. I'm still gonna make a queen. No, the knight comes back. I'm down a rook. Folks, if we do the math on the position, I had to give mate. I am down a rook. So I get myself into a situation where I'm still down a damn rook, but I'm not making any queen. So I'm like, what the? And amazingly, I'm still not lost. I still have the power of these pawns, so I'm still better. And I sacrifice, and I go to push my h-pawn. And I blunder again. I go back this way. Bishop g7 wins because there's no way to prevent me from going here. And if king f7, I lock the rook in a cage. So for example, king g8, king f2, I'm winning. I was mate in 9, or sorry, I keep making a different number. I was checkmating, now I'm dead lost. Opponent plays rook e7, I don't even take back, that's how you know we're low on time. And now the opponent is completely winning, and I am dead lost, completely lost, but instead of that, we get a draw, and yeah, we repeat moves. Let's go to the next one. I would like to share this with you as well. This was a blitz game that I found against the Brazilian Grandmaster. This was a Trumpowski. So I played a Trumpowski, and I played a Stonewall setup. So this is a setup where I'm going to trade off my dark squared bishop anyway. I do it a little bit later here. And I've replaced all my pawns basically on dark square. So obviously the liability for me here is my e3 pawn. But the good thing is I'm going to put my knight on e5, well supported, and maybe go for an attack when my knight is out of the way. And that's exactly what I do. I mean, I pressure the queen side, okay. But the most exciting part of this game happens right here when I play knight h4, and for whatever reason, I go g4. I was feeling spicy that day. The move g4 is an interesting idea because when you take, I sack my knight. Now, the point is obviously that after this, there's this with some attack. My opponent should not take. They should go bishop d6, ignore me like an insane person on the train in New York City. I make that joke quite frequently, but really it's a staple of the city. And just basically say, I don't know what you're doing. Your knight has to leave, and I'm better. But my opponent was like, what's this moron doing, sacrificing a knight? Now, the computer here just says, Gotham, it's not too late to just make a draw. But I'm trying to win the game. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to make a draw. Here, my opponent should just go king g7, and there's no more checks. But we both blunder. That's the point of the video. GM and I am both blundering king to e6. At this point, I find a beautiful resource. So queen takes g4 is just a queen trade. I can't trade queens. I'm down a piece. That doesn't make sense. But I find kabam! Knight takes c4, which could be mentioned in a brilliancy video. What's the point? If pawn takes c4, there's d5, and I win. King d6, pawn takes, and that's it. I'm just winning the queen, right? So knight c4 is a great move. But what happens if they counterattack? Danger levels, and they attack your queen. Oh, no. Well, your queen's under attack. You got to move the queen, right? Queen takes g4. That's what I did. The game goes on. I'm now losing because my queen is hanging, my knight is hanging, and if I go queen g6, there's just this. And oops, oops, oops. So I'm thinking, oh my god, I'm so dumb. I blundered rook h8, and I play queen takes g4. This is mate! Mate is on the board. It's checkmate in one move. Again, can you believe it? Are you kidding me? It's mate. How do you see the fact that you have a pawn tactic right here, but you failed to see the pawn tactic right here? I mean, this is just incredible. I didn't play this because the king runs, which means I obviously saw this. I saw this, and I was like, so I'm like, I have to, and then I don't play a 5. I mean, what are you doing? You don't play f5 because the king runs, so you play knight c4, and then you don't play f5, and then you don't play f5. I was shocked when I saw this. I mean, what? The logic is there. I have all the puzzle pieces. I have the photo of the puzzle. I need 3 more pieces to finish it, and oh my god. And now I'm just down a piece. I'm just down a clean piece. My king is wide open. I have to do some stupid contortioning. And you know what the craziest part is in this game? I'm just a clear piece down, and I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to resign. I'm just going to play a little bit more. I'm playing a GM. I hang mate. I hang mate now. So it's just rook h4. King h2, king g1 here. It's mate. I hang mate myself. He plays it this way, allowing me to run away. So my two title players with a combined rating of nearly 5,000 don't see checkmate, and the game comes down to a time scramble, which I win by the skin of my teeth with a move b3. I won like this, on time. I mean, you don't resign in blitz, you play. You feeling good about your chess yet? Because we have 2 more examples. We have 2 more examples. We are not done. This game, this was a fun one. This was a bullet game, so not a blitz game, but a bullet game. I saw this. This was very funny. This was against Cemil. He's a Turkish grandmaster now living in the US. You can tell it's bullet because it's a very stupid opening that we get, but yeah, opening aside, we get a relatively normal-looking middle game. So disregard the opening, but this made me chuckle. So takes bishop d6. Obviously, I am under some pressure here with my queen, so I have to protect the queen with the move f4, check, and I'm just doing great. I mean, my pieces are flying. I'm gonna take, and I just have a great position. Now, knight takes d5. Okay, knight takes d5. Whenever you see a pinned piece like this, you gotta put pressure on it, right? So queen f3, first thing that comes to mind. Also, a move that attacks multiple things comes to mind. Queen b5 wins on the spot. The game is over. Because I threatened the house. You can't defend everything. Queen b5 wins. I played queen f3. It was a little bit closer to me. I didn't see queen b5 right away, right? It's bullet. You have to make a decision in half a second, whatever. Rook d8. At this point, I'm like, okay, I can go rook d3, rook d1. That's my idea. I'm gonna go rook d3. Opponent slides out of the way and takes. I'm like, huh, that's weird. So if I take, then obviously they're gonna take me. So if this, I take on d8, and then if they take my rook, I'll just take with the queen, no problem, right? So I don't wanna go here because then we have a big trade. I also don't wanna go here because then we trade. So I'm like, wait, don't I just win the rook? If you take me, it's mate, the game is over. And then I was like, oh, there's this. And then if I take on e8 and I take, okay, that could be good. I also can take the knight first on d1, which is good. I can also come back. I'm like, why would I come back? I have mate in 5. So the following sequence of moves is just absolutely catastrophic. So I follow my original plan of queen takes d1 because it's a very natural move, right? Because obviously he's not going to take me because I go like this. Queen d1 loses on the spot to this fork. Forking my rook and my king. Incredible. I have to bring my rook back, and the game is over with kabam. Can't move my rook, pinned. Oh, well, that would be terrible, but knight c6. The knight returns, my rook is still pinned to my king, I lose the game, I'm just gonna be down a full piece. So I lose with queen takes d1. The winning move here is queen d5. If you take this, it's mate. I don't even have to take her queen, but I can. If you take this, I remove the guard. Queen d5 wins on the spot. I miss queen d5, I play queen d1, and my opponent doesn't play queen b6 winning a rook, he hangs mate. What are we even looking at? What even is this? What the... I don't know. I don't know, that's why I made this video. I don't know. That's why, I don't know. But the last example, this was, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Okay, so this game had everything. So we always know the final example of the video is going to be hilarious, right? So here we go. I'm playing an international master from Ukraine, and we play a, I'm playing a ready knight f3, 3b3. He's playing whatever the hell this is, right? So I take the center. I'm just comfortably better because this is just not good. You're supposed to play for the center, but okay, whatever. Bishop g4, knight b4. I move my bishop out of the way, and you know what's funny? If my opponent just plays normal developing moves here, black is okay. But even this slight misstep, allowing me to just bring my bishop back, is a big mistake because one movers like this at the high level, they don't cut it, and oftentimes the knight just becomes the target. So sometimes even the simple retreat and not allowing me to be captured allows me to take control of the position on the very next move. So the opponent plays rook c8, and like any normal human, I play c3. What do you think black plays here, right? The knight is under attack. What do you think black plays? Well, obviously knight c6, right? So I'm like, okay, c3, knight c6, I'm gonna go h3. I'm gonna pre-move h3. So I pre-move h3. My opponent took my knight! Why? The completely unprompted genius capture on f3. Why would you ever take on f3 here? I didn't ask for the bishop. Why would you just give it to me? I mean, what? We teach this to beginners all the time. If there's no good reason, I'm just trying to justify my mouse slip. Why would why would I pre-move? Because any normal person plays knight c6. That's what I thought. Okay, great. I am playing a person of 2,500 strength. I'm just a full piece down. Some people resign here, some people do not. So what do? I play a4, because you need to attack the structural integrity of your opponent before they get castled. Okay, what does my opponent do? b4. What do? Take free pawn. Maybe it's not the end of the world now because I have a passed a pawn. Will the 2,500 convert a position where they are a clean piece up? Let's find out. Now I have two passed pawns. I just have a and b. What am I going to do with them? They're going to make it down the board. Believe it. Believe it, believe it, believe it. Knight b5. Now I'm actually making a big comeback. So knight e7, and I play rook c2 and rook c1. All my pieces have a unified task of destroying the queen side and paving a way for my a and b pawns to be successful. Here we go. Black plays queen d7, I play queen b6, and my opponent is slowly succumbing to the pressure. I have a laser beam on c6. I have a laser beam on e7, and I'm going to play a5 at some point, and I choose not to take it. Let me get that pawn a little bit closer. And now my opponent's resources are very limited. I'm actually dead lost here if the opponent gets aggressive. Sometimes the best form of defense is aggression. Bishop f4 attacks the rook. I have to move it. Now I don't have more pressure on this. Rook b8, and oopsies. Oopsies. If I play queen a6, rook a8, oopsies. And my queen side just falls apart. I mean, it looks like it's a strength for me. It's all fake. My queen side is like a bully, you know, aggressive and loud, but fragile on the inside. So bishop to a7 is what my opponent plays. They get a little bit aggressive, but the wrong way, because the knight can't both defend and defend this way. And now takes, and I take on e7. So first of all, huge blunder here. Rook c7 wins on the spot. That's sometimes a tough move to see, just right in the middle of the action, and now you just hit everything. But, you know, I take on e7. That was my idea. Takes. And I miss another win. So I miss yet another win right here. Feel free to find it. Very nice tactic. Has something to do with the back rank, but it's not queen b8, because then the rook just comes back. It's a very nice idea. The point here is that I can take the knight. It looks impossible, but if they take back, now it's back rank mate. Queen a7 is a beautiful move, so I miss a second opportunity to win this game despite being a full piece down. Shame on my opponent, right? Allowing me to get to that situation in the first place. However, practically speaking, I still have very far advanced pawns, and, you know, I'm making good progress. And then it hits me. I have almost no way forward. Like, I try to defend my king side, but how do I move? I was like, what do I do? If I move out of the way to a5, that might be a way to go, but I was a little bit worried about my king. For some reason here, after pushing and spending the entire game playing on the queen side, I go, oh, I have to guard my... What even is g3? What was I afraid of? g3, I just take. Why didn't I continue to push my pawns? g3, now my opponent plays a great move, breaking in the center. So I go queen b8, opponent takes, I play b6. It is now mate for my opponent with the move rook to e1. If king g2, queen f5, I let the queen side die, queen f3, rook h1, game is over. Opponent misses it. A blunder by my opponent by moving the knight. My king is worth more than their knight. He should have gone for my king. Queen back to f4. Now the game is 0-0-0. Again, knight e5, looking to play knight f3. At this point, I prevent this by taking the pawn and pinning the knight to the king. I thought I was very clever. At this point, rook c7 is plus 10 for white because I'm threatening everything and my pawns will promote. I don't see it. Opponent blocks, and here, once again, rook c7 getting a trade and pushing my pawns wins the game. Instead, I say, ooh, another free pawn. I like that very much. At this point, it is now mate in 6 for my opponent if and only if they play knight to f3. They also can play queen d5 first. That's actually the faster mate. Technically, knight f3, I can sack my queen, but I digress. Which only was possible because a couple of moves ago, this bozo played this move. Instead, he could have completely covered that square, but instead, he allows the knight to make it all the way across the board to f3. It is now king g2, queen d5, and mate. That's it. I mated. Very famous knight, pawn, rook box. I'm mated. I can make 2 queens. The game is still over. I am mated. My opponent goes to a4. I am now no longer mated. It is 0-0-0 once again. My opponent blunders it right back to me. I play rook c4. I am now mated again. But opponent goes check and tries to bring in their queen. I am now mating black. Rook takes g4. I'm winning now. King goes to h6. It's checkmate in some moves, but first I will win a bunch of material. If I play the move queen to d2 check, I don't see queen d2 check, so I move my king out of the way. I'm still winning though, because there's no more checks. Opponent plays queen to e5. I give a check, king g5, and in this position, I miss mate again. Queen g8 is mate. Here, queen g4. It's mate 3. I don't find it. I also can win a queen in one move. I don't see that. I go here. And then in this position, I win on time. I don't even know what to say. I told you the grand finale was going to be good. I really hope you enjoyed this. I shared these examples with you because I want you to be laughing at my pain throughout this video. Because let me tell you something. When chess.com sends you 5 full PDF files of every blunder you have ever made, from completely winning positions to completely losing positions to just everything in between, really makes you question a lot of things. And sharing them with a large audience like this, because normally I laugh at your blunders. Oh man, this was a cathartic experience. I hope you enjoyed. Please let me know if you enjoy content like this. I will try to find some more of my own patterns from chess.com's massive collection of data points. Till next time, folks, I will see you in the next video. Get out of here.